Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Sossaman and this is my case reply for the centralized approach to managing data. So firstly, we'll kind of touch on speed and agility. So a decentralized approach does add speed and agility. However, it doesn't truly have as much pull in the pharmaceutical industry as it would in other industries. So as we kind of talked about, the research and development process can take anywhere from 10 to 13 years from research to the end of the phase 4 clinical trial phase. And clinical trials do take up the bulk of this time. And truly, you can't necessarily speed up this trial phase as you really do need that time to see if there are any risks or aversions with the drug that you are in development of. So being that you truly can't use the speed and agility to the degree that you need it to, this doesn't have as much pull as it would. And so also we can look at how processes are very similar organization-wide as far as the phases that you go through, kind of as we looked at that chart in the last video. So if we really wanted to refine these processes, we want to look at them as a whole organization rather than each individual department to be able to make those process improvements organization-wide. The decentralized approach really looked at creating targeted approaches for solutions with the key argument that not every solution is the same. And while that is true, there is a lot of overlap in solutions between various diseases. Even when looking at the example of COVID-19, a lot of the reasons why the vaccine was able to bypass so many different steps early on is because of previous research in data from the SARS and MERS research. And so being able to reuse some of this information that you've already developed is really beneficial in the pharmaceutical industry, especially when you look at drugs that have multiple uses for various diseases. You're able to open up your market much larger than just that key single disease. And when your organization really only focuses on a few key projects at once, it really does require a lot of high oversight in order to be able to make decisions for the next decade for your organization. In addition, data really does need to be looked at as a whole, especially when we start referring to things like a population health approach. And lastly, the target approaches really do need to be generalized a little bit more. So while you do start working on an approach that is very targeted for a specific disease, you want to be able to use data to see if it can be widened in order to approach other diseases, again, such as finding overlap for different medications and vaccines. And lastly, to touch on cost and staffing, a decentralized approach is much more costly than a centralized approach. And UCB currently has 26% of all revenue reinvested into research and development. So you want to ensure that as much revenue can be invested into that R&D. In addition, employee development and specialization really is a key to innovation, and really having all of those staff in one key spot in your organization will allow for a lot of growth and development and the ability for them to become more specialized at their key interests and focus within the organization.